The most frequent comment theme I see every time I post, especially a silver video, is about CRIMEX and their manipulation. They're not really known as CRIMEX in the comments. They're often referred to as CRIMEX. So let's take a deep and honest look. Every single time silver markets tighten, every single time Twitter lights up with screenshots of declining vault inventories, and every single time someone declares, "This is it, CRIMEX is done," the exchange survives again and again. And welcome to CRIMEX Wins Again. Now, officially, we're talking about the CRIMEX, the metal future arm of the CME group, but unofficially, in certain corners of the internet, it's just colloquially and often referred to as CRIMEX, because when physical supply looks tight, and we've been as low as 25 million ounces before, and the price doesn't explode, people assume the game is rigged. So let's walk through it. No screaming, no hopium, just the structure. So segment 1, the panic narrative. Here's how the cycle goes. Registered silver inventories decline. A heavy delivery month approaches, like March. Open interest looks large relative to available metal, and influencers say they're going to run out. March is typically one of the bigger silver delivery months. People looked at the open interest, and they do a simple division problem. Ounces demanded divided by registered ounces available. And if the number is high, panic spreads. But here's the thing most retail traders don't really understand. Open interest is not delivery demand. Most contracts never stand for delivery. They're closed, rolled, offset, spread, or coerced, but whatever it is, the futures market is a hedging and price discovery mechanism, not a Costco for 1,000 ounce bars. So part 2, the math that actually matters. If you want to understand whether CRIMEX runs out, you don't look at Twitter threads. You look at probability structure. The simplified framing is conditional probability. In plain English, what is the probability vault will run dry given an unusually high percentage stands for delivery? Historically, it's very low because multiple pressure valves exist, which brings us to part 3, the pressure valves. The most overlooked one is that most contracts are financial. Large commercial players hedge production or inventory. They're not trying to take delivery of trucks full of silver. Speculators roll forward. Funds arbitrage spreads. Delivery demand is always a fraction of open interest. Which brings us to part 2, eligible versus registered. This is where the Bloomberg brain kicks in. CRIMEX reports 2 categories: registered, which means it's deliverable right now, and eligible, which means it meets the standards but is not currently pledged. Metal can move between those categories. If spreads widen and incentives increase, eligible metal often converts to registered. That assumes that those who have registered are paid enough to convert it. So when people say there's only X million ounces left, they're usually ignoring eligible inventory. And so part 3, price rations demand. Markets clear through price. If delivery demand spikes, spreads widen, backwardation appears, premiums increase, and at some point someone says, you know what, I'll take cash. Which brings us to the earlier question. Are claims usually cash settled or rolled? Well, most are rolled or offset before first notice day. Actual delivery percentage is typically small relative to total open interest. Cash settlement is rare in normal conditions because the system is designed to avoid that stress point in the first place. The market self-regulates through margin requirements, spread structures, roll incentives, and arbitrage. The system bends long before it breaks. So will CRIMEX run out in March or May or any other heavy delivery month? More likely no than yes. For vaults to truly fail, an unusually large percent of open interest must stand. Registered inventory must decline sharply. Eligible must not convert. New metal must not enter, and prices must fall to ration demand. That's 5 simultaneous conditions, and the probability of all 5 aligning, and it looks like they're aligning more than they have in a while, still small, not zero, but small. And here's part 6, why quote-unquote CRIMEX wins. Because the exchange doesn't operate like a retail coin shop. It operates like a clearinghouse. Its job is not to store metal for stackers. Its job is to clear contracts and manage risk. And historically, it does it efficiently. Even during stress events, 2020 liquidity shock, massive delivery spikes, record silver volatility, the clearing system held. Margins were raised, spreads were widened, metal moved, CRIMEX won again. They have so many tools in their bag of tricks. Part 7, the emotional trade. Let's address the uncomfortable part. A lot of people don't want price discovery. They want vindication. They want the exchange to fail because they believe paper suppresses physical price. And that's a philosophical argument, but mechanically, the exchange survives because it's capitalized, it's regulated, it's backed by a large institution, it has dynamic margin controls, it's written by them for them. The rules are. You might not like the structure, I might not like the structure, but one thing we both have to admit about it, the structure is robust. So part 8, what would flip the script? Here's the signal that changes everything. Persistent backwardation across multiple months, and we're seeing that. Registered inventory collapsing with no eligible conversion. We're kind of seeing that too. Large entities demanding physical repeatedly. To a degree we're seeing that, though we've seen we've seen 25 million of eligible. So rising EFP spreads disconnecting from London. Industrial users bidding aggressively outside the exchange. We're seeing China nationalize. We're seeing India decouple from the COMEX. But are we seeing all of this simultaneously? I mean, if we are, stress. But until then, it's really kind of noise. Which brings us to point 9, the real risk. And this is the irony. The bigger systemic risk isn't silver running out. It's currency debasement. And we're seeing that. If you're worried about metal shortages, you're probably worried about monetary stability. And that conversation isn't about COMEX, it's about central banks. It's about sovereign debt. It's about structural deficits. Silver running out makes headlines, but monetary decay changes civilization. So yes, inventories fluctuate, and yes, delivery months create tension. Yes, social media amplifies every vault withdrawal, but when you step back, when you pull up the terminal, zoom out, and apply probability instead of emotion, sorry to say it, CRIMEX wins again. Not because it's perfect and not because it's moral, but because the system is engineered that way. It's engineered to survive stress. And until you see the structural pressure valves fail, the more likely outcome is more no than yes. And markets, as always, will clear. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. As always, take care of yourselves and each other. Refer back to the video we had on how retail long-term can and will eventually beat the COMEX and the large banks. And so for that reason, build that stack.